What's going on, my broskiis? My name is Toadski, back again, here to bring you guys yet another One Piece Treasure Cruise video. And in today's video, we're going to be talking about something that I came across just the other day here on the One Piece Treasure Cruise subreddit Discord. There is a member who came up with a really interesting tool that I think a lot of you guys would actually find pretty helpful, actually. I know a lot of people will ask about Pirate Rumble, building teams for Pirate Rumble, and I think that what this user has created is actually really cool. And while I don't think it's absolutely perfect, and don't think really anything is, nothing that I make on my channel is absolutely perfect either, but I think it's going to be a really nice tool for people to get some inspiration to help them with building Pirate Rumble teams and getting a bit of an idea as to what you can kind of use in order to move forward and make your Pirate Rumble teams just a little bit better. So I want to give a huge shout out to Nidato for the original creator of this. This is a Google document. I'll leave a link to this down below in the video description so you can check it out for yourself, but we're kind of just going to go through everything here. There is a bunch of tabs that we're going to have a look at, but this is a really good resource to allow you to kind of get a bit more information in regards to Pirate Rumble. So they give you a bit of an update in terms of the latest units to come out with the new units here, and then obviously there's a bunch of different tabs, as I said, that we're going to go through. So once again, big shout out to Nidato. Last update on the 4th of July. So yeah, it was updated relatively recently. So moving on, he gives you a bit of information about skipping and pulling, about whether each of these units are worth pulling for in Pirate Rumble. So you got the new Nami here, and of course this is going to be updated over time, at least I would hope so. And they mention here about the pros and the cons of each unit here. Good for strikers, boosting CT after 40 seconds, and then reducing 100% special CT and haste of 2 striker units. So that is actually really good, but obviously the haste is not guaranteed, and she does have a very high special CT. And then there's like a rating, 5 out of 6 stars. Personally, I don't think Nami is that worth it, because in order to make her good, you need to abuse her with other striker units. And if you're a new player in the game, you're probably not going to have a great array of characters. If you're like a mid-level player, there's more easier to build teams out there compared to striker teams, in my opinion. You got Nico Robin here, 3 out of 5 stars. I don't think Nico Robin is that great. We've got Jaguar D Soul. I actually think he's a pretty good Pirate Rumble character. We haven't actually had a lot of time to talk about what he actually does, but I do think Jaguar D Soul is actually a pretty decent unit. He does have a relatively high CT, that is annoying, which does suck, but I do think generally speaking he's actually pretty good. But hopefully this gets updated over time, and that's going to really be a really nice way for people to get a bit of information about, whether they should be pulling for these new units. Now, this is also something I think a lot of people are going to take a look at. So this is going through team compositions. Now, I definitely disagree with some key choices here. Like, for example, on this first team with slashers, while yes, Shanks does have a lot of bulk that he gives to these slasher teams, at least in my opinion, when I've used slasher teams, I've had far more beneficial experiences when I replace this Shanks for 6+ Legend Cracker. I feel like the team is just more offensively potent. However, I do agree that Shanks is better in terms of defense. And you can see here that there's like different tiers that will be upgraded. There's the trending composition, which I do agree slashers are probably the best team right now in Pirate Rumble. They're just incredibly good. And there are going to be lots of different like variations, and we'll talk more about that as we go along. But this is kind of like the tier list in terms of team composition. So this is a really good way to have a look at this list and see what characters you have on your account and try and build for what you want. Now, there is an arrow here that gives you a little bit of a link to like replacements here. So you see the main comp, and it gives you again like a little bit of a rundown as to what you can expect. You can see that this is classified as a dual unit, this is int, this is psi, so you can kind of get an idea about the typings of your crew. And you can see that you got Zoro and Sanji give attack and defensive stuff, and they also allow you to do the hasting stuff if you have another Straw Hat on the crew. So that is obviously very important. But of course, this is just one team example. You can do this with any of the other characters that are listed here. So like this Psi team here, I don't know if Gin is like the most ideal choice for Psi teams in particular. He's not even listed here. He's right down here at the option in terms of other options. But like there's heaps of different characters you could potentially use for squads such as this. The quick slasher team, like I don't think Hiyori is like a character you would actually use on quick slashers, even though she herself is a legend that is quick and slasher. I just think that there's better units you can use. Like, I would rather use Tesora on the front line, despite him not being a slasher unit. He just provides so much. And then you've got like Iza Okiku. I just don't think this character fits well on this type of team. Honestly, I just don't think it's a good choice. But again, these are just providing examples. If you want more opinions on it, there are replacements here. This one doesn't have Tesora listed here, which is surprising. You know, despite the fact he's not slasher, he is a great unit to put on that type of team. And then you've got like just some other ones here, of course, and you got the S rank here, and then you go down to the A's, and these are the ones that are a little bit less potent. A little bit surprising that we got this one here. I mean, this Cerebral team, I don't have the key units for this Cerebral team. I would love to give this team a go, but I just don't think it's really that great, honestly. And it's interesting to see that in this individual's opinion that this is the most ideal Dex team. I don't think Roger makes it onto the most ideal Dex team, personally speaking, but I can understand why they would put that in that kind of position, right? So yeah, this is a really good way to go ahead and do that. And then of course the tab after that, it just goes through into greater detail about, you know, each individual type and the different type and class teams and the different characters you can potentially put on these types of squads. Like if you could build like a Psi Free Spirit team, you can build a Psi Slasher Free Spirit team if you want to be a little bit more specific. But obviously it extends to a lot of other different variations, of course. But again, you know, building your Rumble teams to be as effective as possible is really important, and this is a great resource to do that. Unfortunately, I don't think fighters are going to be that good, but if you're going to build a fighter team, this is about as good as you're going to get, at least right now, until we get a bit more support moving forward. Of course, Slash is incredibly strong, and there's a lot of good options for Slashers, honestly. With this one here, Slasher Cerebral, like, I don't really think people are going to build this, but I guess it's an option, potentially, I guess. You know, there's just lots of different options. Now, another really cool thing about this webpage here is that there is a bit of a tool here to give you a bit of a rundown in terms of how many of these Rumble Scrolls you need in order to level up a character to completely max them out. So for this one, for example, if you have a Sugofest exclusive, if you want to get everything maxed out, their Rumble ability, their Rumble special, and their burst skill in Grand Party, you will need to get 304,100 Pirate Rumble EXP, which requires this amount of the gold of the same type of the unit, this amount of silver, this amount of bronze, and then if you feed this amount of other different types, it will completely max the character out in one feed, because sometimes you can like be a bit finicky, not too sure how many Rumble Scrolls you're clicking to ensure that you get the right amount of EXP. This allows you to just go ahead and do that without having to worry about it. You put in these exact values, the character will get maxed out immediately. But if you don't want their Grand Party burst stuff max, you can just max their normal stuff, and you've got your values listed here. So again, just a great resource to allow you to max these characters out a little bit more efficiently. Now, a bit more, you know, expanding more on this, you have obviously the meta team comps and the way that you can build and find replacements for each of these characters. But then this individual actually has just a straight up tier list, like what are the best units to be looking at for Rumble. Now, I have made my own versions of these in the past, but it's interesting to get other opinions about what they think are the most ideal characters in Pirate Rumble. And having a look at the characters in this top list, I don't really disagree, honestly. Some of these characters at the top are pretty wild. It is interesting to have Kuma here as listed as an OP unit. I will say that the addition or the alteration, the recent alteration to make him a 20 cost character rather than a 55 cost character is massive. For his abilities to be on a 20 cost unit, definitely agree with it being insanely strong, but I don't know if I would really say he's like OP per se. Jack as well, like he's good, but I don't think he's OP. I think he's got some good uses for sure though. And then you got obviously listing down from here. I don't think there's really any outliers that I see, and I think I don't really understand why that character's here. Shanks is a bit of a weird one. I have been using him a lot recently, and I think he's okay, but I think he is lacking in some other aspects as well. His special is strong, but it does only do one bit of damage to one target, but the additional effects of attack, defense, and the shield buff that he does provide, I can understand why this character is held in high regard. As for the rest of these units here, I kind of understand why they're all here. I haven't really used the 10th anniversary Ace all that much personally, so I really should, you know, dive into him a little bit more. But in theory, he seems pretty good, and especially with the level limit break of Yamato, slight buffs to her to make her a lot better, obviously. But like some other ones here, like Fujitora and Blue Gem, I personally don't own these units. I don't have them. I wish I did, because these units are very, very good. And then of course we drop down a tier a little bit, and these characters, like, yeah, if you have them, you want to try and build teams around characters within these first few tiers. We move on a little bit deeper, like we're really, you know, getting into the bottom of the barrel here. Sober Mask is interesting to have him so low, but I guess when you really think about it, there are a lot of other units you could use in his position these days, so I kind of understand that. Douglas Bullet, the Dex Douglas Bullet, I can't see him off the top here, but I would say that he's just a straight up better version of this unit, but whatever, it is what it is, right? Moving down to the deeper levels here, like there's a lot of legends, so I'm not going to go through everything specifically, but there's a lot of bad units you don't really have to worry about. You know, these ones down the bottom here, you can completely skip them. It's more about these units in the first few tiers, because these are the ones that you typically will see more often. They have the best abilities, and they synergize with the most units to get the most out of them, really. So completely understand all of that. Now remember, this is only just in normal Rumble. We can go even deeper with Grand Party. So this is a Grand Party leader tier list, and you can see that the list is for the best leaders in Grand Party, and there's different ideas in terms of you know, why they're ranked in certain positions, the burst impact, the relevance, ease of use, and the frequency that you would come up against. And I do agree, at least with the top two, with the both Gear 5 Luffys. These units are phenomenal, and completely understand why they are here. Roger and Odin definitely have a very, very powerful burst skill, and you can build some pretty solid teams. You can build a slasher team, you can build your quick slasher team and something else with them. I kind of agree with that. Having a look at the SS tier though, and Mazoro, definitely very frustrating to come up against sometimes. He's got a great burst skill for sure, great rumble ability too. But having like the Roger here, I don't know if I agree with that, honestly. I don't think that's really a relevant pick. Shanks definitely is a very, very good Grand Party leader, and has a very good burst skill, and you can use it multiple times. Like, it's like 4 different bursts that he gets normally. Roger, the OG Grand Party leader, very, very good. And then you can see it just scales down from there. But basically, if you're building a Grand Party team, you want to be using one of these top 2 tiers of units as your Grand Party leader. Otherwise, you're kind of missing out, honestly. It is interesting to have Uta all the way down in A tier. I personally don't agree with that. I do think Uta is a lot better than the A tier is listed here. And I think recently, didn't she just receive a buff relatively recently where she actually has the ability to use her burst skill like multiple times, where I think when she first came out, you could only use her burst skill once. So I definitely think she's a lot better, and I do think Sanji is definitely a lot better than his current position right here. And I know Super Tandem Luffy, wherever he is, this guy, he's actually really good in Grand Party as well. He definitely should not be in B tier. Like, this kid is way worse compared to what this Luffy does. So I think there are some tweaks that I would personally make to this Grand Party tier list in terms of leader skills, and obviously their burst and stuff. But I think generally speaking, this is a pretty good way to follow the Grand Party stuff. And interesting as well, this is the current Grand Party season as we know it right now, with the seasonal rules and what you can kind of look out for. Also, a little bit of helpful stuff here in terms of how many wins you have and how many retries you get. On the side here on the left is very useful, and it gives you the buffs in terms of, you know, the types and the classes that will receive buffs and debuffs, the recommended units you can use this season, and then you have like a recommended season team composition. This is what I ideally used on day 1. I didn't personally agree with this, considering the fact that Dex is so heavily buffed and Strength is heavily debuffed. I don't think quick teams are the way to go this season, personally speaking. I can kind of understand it in a way, because this quick team synergizes really well with the 10th anniversary Shanks as the leader, because as it's listed here, that's the leader that you would want to use. So I kind of understand that. I think Sai is still very good, especially with the level limit break and super evolution of Wano Law. That makes sense for sure. But having Gear 5 on the bench, don't know if I agree with that. I would personally put him on the front line, especially because he can just revive. He's got a great leader skill, great special. Don't know why you would put him on the bench, but that's an idea. I guess maybe it's up to your discretion in terms of where you would place each of these individual units. Just doesn't really make a lot of sense to me, but it's an idea that you can go ahead and take into your own stride and kind of develop your own teams from there. Moving on, there's like recommended Grand Party teams. Like if you want to use the Int Gear 5 as your lead, you've got your Side Gear 5, you've got Roger and Odin, and it gives you a bit of a breakdown in terms of using the burst skill and, you know, what you should be using each team against. So this is just a really good resource for people to, you know, build their teams for Grand Party and also normal Pirate Rumble in order to take on the content at hand. So that's all we're really going to go through in this video today, and I really hope you guys enjoyed this one. You know, obviously nothing really too crazy, and obviously massive shout out to Nidato, who is the original creator of this, and there's actually a link to his own Discord and his Twitch, so make sure to go ahead and drop him a follow. Go ahead and follow his stuff, because this is a fantastic resource. He's put a lot of effort into the design and the actual information listed here, so yeah, this is fantastic. So I want to see more stuff like this from the community. This stuff is absolutely wicked. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video though, and if you did, make sure to go ahead and leave a like, and if you want to stay up to date with all the content I post, including more One Piece Treasure Cruise content, make sure to hit the subscribe button down below. I'm that, guys. I'll see you guys within the next video.